of the Rainbow Captains. And then the fact that like Roger and Odin and Yamato both provide like Rainbow functionality as well, just like makes team building just that tiny bit better. But again, like if you would give me a choice between what to use as a captain, I'm still going to try my best to opt to use Gear 5 as my captain for most, if not all things. But on the other end, some of these units can use their EX supers as crewmates.
Well, yeah,
which
Zoro
then
Zoro Sanji seem like they're made to be like an ultimate sub. Like that's what that's what I'm getting from their kit.
Yes. I think Tony also pointed out today as well that like if you tap with a Wano slot, it reduces their swap by 1 turn as well.
Yeah, Wano tandem all recovery.
Sorry, yeah. So like,
which is nuts. They needed that.
Which is disgusting, right? And then if you tap with, what is it? When the captain is slasher or free spirit class, adds 0.1 to the chain multiplier. Effect is stackable in their dual form,
and they can eat recovery orbs with perfects. That's a sailor.
And they reduce just. I mean, it's minimal, but reducing despair by turn with their sailor ability as well. Like that can get you out of a lot of sticky situations.
Yeah, it also opens the door that they're now doing that.
100%, right? Like, and I mean, like you're 100% correct. Like their special being very chain heavy provides so much. Like it's great.
That is really good. Yeah. Adding a 1.75 chain multiplier
and the and the 2.0. You know what I mean? The fact they're doing the chain multiplier and the chain addition. And they also add 0.1 in their dual form as a sailor. Yeah.
And then you put Kid Law on top of that to increase that. That 1.75 is now going to 2 times.
And also,
Kid Law's the attack boost for that team. Boost. Yeah.
So they also add 0.7 in their Super EX as well through that. Oh my. Yeah, that
the only thing they're not doing is the chain boundary, which is like which is where you bring Sanji in for that, right? So you just have to bring another chain boundary unit in somehow and try and find them into
like Karanami.
You could do Karanami and stuff like that, but I feel like you'd want to run like Kid Law as that int unit, and then you'd do something with like that new powerhouse Luffy with the chain boundary that he's doing.
Yeah, that powerhouse is crap.
But I really like what Zoro and Sanji are doing because they're like they're going to be so good as a sub, and their super tandem, honestly, it's good, but it does just seem kind of mid. It's not something you're going to chase, right? So it's
no, it's not, because that's what we discussed in AF. We're like, we don't really need level 5 Zoro Sanji, because if you think about it, Nami's T&D is better. Like, there's a few...
But at the same time, right, like, we saw how good Kid Law's super tandem ended up being in the last, like,
but like, if changing the attack multiplier on 5 different orbs,
it's kind of crazy.
Yeah, but
like that's
it is crazy.
Wild, right?
But then you look at Gear 5.
Gear 5 does it. So.
He's already doing that.
Yeah.
But what does he do it on? He does it for what? Psi orbs, tandem orbs?
He does it.
No, he does it for everything.
Everything.
All at a 2.75?
Yeah.
Besides Wano and Rainbow. Besides Wano
and Rainbow. Besides Rainbow, yeah.
And Samula.
But that's, I bet, okay, then, like, create the other side, like, to play devil's advocate, right? Like, pumping Wano slots to 2.75 then with this super tandem.
Yeah.
Like, Wano slots are so prolific now in everything. Like, that they've actively gone and debuffed Wano slots very consistently in content. The fact that they buff them, like, and Wano slots being as prolific as they are, I personally think that this super tandem is cracked purely because of their special changing classes. Like, you are guaranteed for every unit in the team to benefit from the tandem attack boost, which just makes it in its own regard like unfathomably powerful. But then again, obviously, like, the free spirit reign has existed for the last like 6 months in Treasure Cruise.
That's what I was about to say. I was about to say, like,
the last like 13 months even for its own regard. When you think about it, like since New Year's last year to New Year's this year, free spirit has been prolific throughout the whole entire duration of it. However, I think that
I would say since A Fanny they've been.
Yeah.
But then, like, you have the introduction of that Nami. That Nami just broke the, like, you know, it broke the whole dam down. You know, the water, we're flooding now. And then Gear 5 came and said, what's up? And, like, now he's pulling up and doing crazy things. And now you have this whole batch, like, you know, oh, but, you know, Yama's is a striker slasher. All right, let me just pull up with Zoro Sanji real quick.
Exactly.
Oh, but this unit's a powerhouse fighter. Oh, let me pull up with Zoro Sanji real quick.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
I think that we're going to be in a situation where I think people are crying, naturally speaking, about, oh, it's Wano, but like, if you put that aside and just look at like the units like themselves as just like numbers on a plate, we have 3 very strong, whether people want to agree or disagree, I don't care, 3 very strong New Year's units once again. Like, each of these New Year's units provide so much additional benefit, like in their own kind of capacities and regards, that I think like it's kind of like a pick and choose situation, right? But I guess like to make it kind of more obvious to people, if I was to go around the room, out of these 3 units, which one are you picking up? Just say the unit's name in its own regards. Like, you know, Rizzy, if you had to pick one of them, who would you take if you were forced to only take one of them?
Oh, that's a tough ask for me, because for me it would be Roger Odin, because I love for TM. Roger Odin is so good for TM because of that 1.5 mil attack.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can't disregard that. Like,
absolutely. Plus, like, you know, the ability to give you a really high attack and ore boost by themselves alone. Like, I think that the ore boost is very easy to kind of acquire when you really kind of break it down. Like,
well, you get an ore boost regardless.
Oh yeah, you do, right?
Yeah, you get a 2.75 ore boost regardless for slasher and quick units for 1 turn instead of 3 turns.
My God.
So they just give you a attack and ore boost irrespective of
no matter what,
which is just like really, really good. Like, obviously, like, oh, but it's a quick slasher jabroni. It's like, yeah, hello, Zoro Sanji pulls up. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? Like, every single
slashers are crazy now. Like,
I know, like, and that's the
strikers are crazy. Like, it's not like they're bad
wild.
Just because they're not free spirit, it doesn't mean that they're
doesn't mean anything.
It does. It does. Don't get me wrong. Free Spirit's like so far ahead of everything else. But and then exactly what you said. Just bring Zoro Sanji and you're in for a ride. But like, it's not like slasher and striker teams are like bad.
No, not at all. Yeah.
Plus, they're a rainbow captain.
Pyro, what are you taking?
I would say Zoro Sanji, because fear remover and captain is something that they only have, which is very very
crazy.
Valuable.
By like that captain is nuts. Like, removing fear, hello, like that's ridiculous, right? And that means that it gives users or players the sense that there is this essence of fear is going to become a larger factor maybe in the next 3 months of content coming forward. Like, the fact that we have a captain ability now removes it is like, all right, we're talking shop here. What about you?
Yeah, until now we only had one unit and there moves it, and it was Hawkins.
Yes.
False. Doesn't Bonnie remove it too?
I don't think she was in a captain ability.
Not in her captain ability, but
Hawkins
wasn't in a captain ability either. I think.
Anyway. Besides the point.
So I would say most likely Zoro Sanji because of the whole switching. This is what we've been waiting for. This is what we thought Ivankov was gonna do, because he was gonna change everybody's type or class into a certain type or class, right? So this is the time where we get that mechanic, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
What I fear is that they're gonna actually have in the next year, right? They're gonna have anti.
Oh yeah, artificial. Absolutely, artificial. Yeah. There'll be a new immunity that comes out. I'll guarantee you that right now. Yeah. There'll be a new immunity that comes out that blocks you from using that ability with that shadow of doubt. I think that what Bandai does so consistently is that they shoot first and ask questions later, in the sense that they release these absolute like Nami was a mistake. We can all agree with that.
Yes,
right?
yes.
Nami was an absolute mistake because she was way too broken. And then Bandai realizes, oh crap, like this unit is overpowered. We have to now minimize their value as much as possible. But then Nami stayed as prolific as ever and still maintained. And now Gear 5 is in that kind of situation as well, right? where Gear 5 is just so unbearable. Now you're going to have this particular situation, which you're pointing out as, is that this unit's special is just so damn good for just that one mechanic alone. Everything else is gravy, right? So that one unit is incredible.
The upside is that New Year's is the time to do that. Like, you want to be bringing in new players, make a crazy ass character. I think going back to the Wano conversation about everyone bitching that it's Wano, honestly, and sorry if this hurts anyone's feelings, shut the fuck up.
Grow up.
Like, shut up. Like, what? You expect them to move in to the next arc of shit we don't even have information of as an anime only watcher. There's no way that they could not have done Wano. It's not fathomable.
Plus,
so that's sort of you're not looking at these units at the next pinnacle of moving into the next part of One Piece. This is a wrap up. This is a wrap up of the year. Why would they start something new? Like, it just doesn't make any sense. And I get it, New Year's, all that sort of fun stuff. But you need to build up into the next stuff, and that's what the next couple of months are going to be, building up into those pinnacle moments of the next part of One Piece. Which I'm not going to spoil for
no Luffy.
No Luffy. But in my opinion, the reason why other people wanted cross-guild, but I'm just like, cross-guild won't sell. If you look at the Japanese audience,
that's the build-up. That'll be a build-up. That'll be a build-up to the next part.
So
and that's why I'm saying the Japanese community prefer characters like Oden, Roger, Yamato, and Zoro and Sanji. And this
is it. That's the showing of it. This New Year celebration is the showing of, like, as we've discussed a plethora of times, the Japanese audience is the audience that the game is developed for. Like, it's not developed for the global audience whatsoever.
Well, who are you taking, Pappy?
Tony was mentioning something first.
I want to point out that, like, Zoro Sanji's, they are accessible for captains, right? Like, they could be captains. Because if you change, they boost six classes, right? But then you do their special, right?
And then they give 6 times to everyone because they're giving everyone the free special.
Yeah, they get 6 times for everybody.
Plus, they turn everyone into slashes, which means that if you run KDAB Final Tap, everyone all goes into KDAB. So KDAB's Final Tap is now getting hit with every single unit. Not just that wonky ass team that you're trying to build, trying to bring slashes, and now everyone works. Right. Then that becomes a V2 Straw Hat Final Tap, like an actual V2 Straw Hat Final Tap.
Hello, are you going to be using KDAD's Final Tap when Gear 5 is still there?
But that's the thing, right? That's the big downside to Yamato, right? And honestly, if you ask me who I'm taking, I'm probably taking Yamato.
You know what? I'm gonna keep it $150 with you. I'm kind of on the same vibe.
I can definitely see what Zoro Sanji does, and I'm not saying that Yamato is going to be better than that ability. But this, if you get her to level 5 Final Tap, she might replace the rush.
Dude, her Final Tap is so strong. Like, I don't think people understand. Like, it's like the fact that a 70% damage reduction equates to a 2.4x. Attack boost for herself.
You're the math guy, right? You're the math guy. So what's a 95%? 95% would be what?
Okay, so like I'm assuming
270.
It'd be higher than 270.
Wouldn't it be 1.95 plus 1.95?
Yeah, I think so. It'd be like, it would be capping out at 3x would be 100% damage reduction.
You can't get 100%. You can't get.
Well, it doesn't matter. But like, if you can get 100% damage reduction somehow, you'd get a 3x attack boost.
It's 290.
Yeah, but her ability, right? Her ability, this ability, stack up to 200% of the effect of the final tap. 200% is 2 times, right?
So that's a 3x boost actually. 100% would be 2x.
Right, yep, so you're stacking up to 200% of the effect, which means you're getting 200% of that ability. If I'm reading this correctly, you're getting 200% of that additional damage that she's doing.
So it's at a base, right? It's at a base. The example they said is 70%. So 200, 2 times 70, right, is 140 plus the times 1, right? That's where they're getting the 2.4. So that's where that number comes from. So if if you are getting a 95% damage reduction, you are going to get a 2.9 attack boost.
Yeah, but then
Yeah, so-
you get the
so-
200% additive with all of that final tap shenanigans that she does. So that will increase it again.
Correct.
On top of that,
Hold on. And then you need it. This is why they want you to use Yamato as your own captain, because you take up what Roger does. Roger provides 2,000 base attack to the right side, right?
on top of that,
And they want you to stack. Yeah, that's why they want you to run Yamato as your own cap.
Plus, on top of that, she's giving 80%, or sorry, not 80%, she's giving 40%, I believe. 40% resistance. If you're on 2 Yamatos, 30%.
Yes.
She's giving 40% resistance for slashers and strikers, which, to her, it's doubling that. So it's the 80%. Her final tap, and then you just chuck Rush Sanji, use the Rush of Sanji to buff her here, and then use any other Super Tandem that buffs her again. This final tap is cooked. It's actually so cooked.
Yes.
And if you're going to rainbow any of them, I think, Roger, yes, because it's a Rush. Rushes are always super powerful and whatnot, but, looking at what final taps are doing, we sit here and we say that final taps are nothing if you look at Straw Hat V2. This is one of them that I'm looking at oh crap, this could do some big ass
you
numbers.
gotta mention, if you run, say, you could either run double Yamato or you could run Roger as your friend captain, and you kind of forget Roger also provides another resistance buff in his own captain with critical attacks, so
Yes.
you can stack it even further. So.
Yeah, so what this unit's doing is kind of nuts, but on top of that, you could still run the K-Dad final tap, and have all of this damage effect, having the 200% go into K-Dad now, the level 5 final tap of K-Dad, what are those numbers going to look like? And then you, again, like you guys said, chuck on Zoro Sanji, now everyone's a slasher. Oh, look.
Yeah, no.
What's happening now?
Here's the question, though, right? Is the 200% max for the final tap? Does that increase the multiplier for KDAD to 2 times? So 2 times. So it would. But final tap is.
Well, if you're tapping with KDAD last, you're not getting Yamato's final tap of capping it out at 200%.
No,
so unless you're getting it by other means, then I'm sure I would assume that's
no. So it's a separate buff.
It's a separate buff, but you could actually swap, right? Her final tap is the damage reduction attack boost.
Yes.
So it's what versus Yamato does.
Yeah, but you just you run your own K-Dad, bring this unit as a friend captain, chuck on the first Yamato on the team, and now you're cooking.
So basically, what her swap does, and all the units from Momo's batch, Hiyori, they all increase the final tap to 200%. That's what they're referring to, the 200% for.
Of course, but that's a buff that she gives at the end. So. In her dual captain, she says, at the start of the final battle, applies a final attack boost based on the accumulated value, which is where that 200% then becomes effective.
Yes, but that's different than what her final taps
Of course. But what I'm saying is that buff will just affect the final tap attack boost based on the accumulated value. Oh, yeah, so that's the 200% though, right? That would still affect K-Dad's final tap.
200%. We discussed it yesterday or last night when we were looking at the units. That 200%, the final tap is immediate. It's not. I don't think it's affected by the final tap buff. Right, so it's not gonna go from KDAD's is 1 times to 2 times the amount of damage. That's 3 times the amount, basically, or 3 times the damage that you're doing with all the other units. If that's the case.
That's the way I'm reading it.
But I don't know. Like this mechanic has been out, and we haven't like actually talked about it, right?
Well,
we're getting into semantics though. Like this is stuff that we need to test when the units like come out.
Right,
like
right, true.
I think I think we
test it now.
Okay, that's like I get that, but like making a video here. Okay. Like, we're getting way too deep into semantics of conversation, like it whatsoever. If you watch the video itself, right, like the rest of the crew does butt fuck damage, right? Then Yamato hits 37 bill. Then after her final tap, her damage goes to 89 bill, right? So that's 37 bill when the super tandem activates. Then her final tap activates, and it goes to a total of 89 bill. Like. She's pretty much doubling her damage from her final tap alone. So even aside from the semantics of the 200% increase and the damage reduction buff or whatever it is, like purely from the perspective of the video that we've been provided, we're looking at essentially Yamato's final tap doubling her damage.
Yeah.
Which is uncanny. When you really like break it down, right? And obviously we can create the arguments of like, oh, but V2 Straw Hats, you know, they increase the damage of like they increase the total damage done or whatever it is, or you know, like K-Dad is the total damage of all the slasher units, but like Yamato buffs herself so much that like she's doubling her own damage, and especially because it's a final tap. And I think as Rizzy mentioned, like you're gonna have the use of the Roger and Odin special to get the base attack boost. Then you're further going to get... I mean, and in this video, they're using Friend Captain Yamato as well. So they're not even getting the base attack boost in reality, right?
Yep.
So, like, also then you have rush mechanics that increase the chain higher. And then, you know, as you mentioned, Stump, like, we need a good a chain boundary user as well. Like, you know, if you can fit all the pieces to that puzzle, then, like, you're looking at Yamato easily doing upwards of 2x her own damage.
Well, I think it's even more, right?
As well.
I think it's more because when you look at what Rush Gear 5's doing at the final hit, he's like tripling his damage or whatever it is.
Tripling it.
With rainbow damage and stuff like that. Yes, Yamato doesn't have that I can hit anything I like. She still has the ability to be two different colors, so she can hit two separate bosses. But because it's a final tap, you now bring Sanji's Rush into play. Then you bring a super tandem, and now you're looking at what Gear 5's doing, but on actually a much larger scale. Because you added into the final tap, like what we were seeing with the release of Rush Sanji in that Rush super tandem and final tap combination. So yeah, if I had to pick, I think I'm looking more into Yamato, but like Zoro Sanji, they're exceptional as well. I'm not taking anything away from Roger and Odin as well, but like Speed Captain... interesting buffs, different shenaniganry with Yamato. I'm a big fan of what she's doing.
I think the way you described Zoro and Sanji as the ultimate sub is actually the best way to put them. If you had to like put them up in lights, right?
They're a one and done.
For Gear 5 is like you put them in the team like.
Yep.
All right, cool.
You're good.
But that's so much output. Plus, if you want to get like a little bit more deep into it, like they can technically replace, which they're forced to replace, but they're replacing Zoro and Sanji as well. So now you're removing 2 units in place of this unit, which then provides you an additional space to put something else in there that can kind of like add that extra benefit as well, right? Yep. So you have this really interesting dynamic of like. For people, like for the top rankers and those that are hitting that trillion damage threshold, it's going to get easier and easier to hit that damage threshold with less and less investment, which I think for the common player or the mid to end game player, that's a super benefit in the grand scheme of things, right? But like obviously then Bandai has to factor in the artificial difficulty, etc., etc. But we're moving to this power creep where the game's mechanics in its own regard aren't keeping up with the demand of what the units are now providing. So having Zoro and Sanji be this wonderful super sub for the most part, Yamato being this incredible captain / final tap unit, and then Roger and Odin, who is a very prolific like character that like maybe a beginner would actually benefit from having Roger and Odin if they were to start during New Year's, because you get really cool debuff removal. You get an attack and orb boost guaranteed. You get the speed farming captain as mentioned before. You have 3 units here that take away the whole idea of Wano Shimano. 3 units here that provide a plethora, plus combining them all together.
Yep.
Like
you have
you're laughing all the way to the bank.
Anniversary effect, right? We have the super tandem, the final tap, the rush ability of all of them, and then I like that they're doing stuff with that Momo and Hiyori now. That like Momo and Hiyori, just like what they do with like kind of Jack, and the Beast Pirates. That Momo and Hiyori actually hold a lot of value for these teams now.
With the Momo, because looking at that video, the thing that's lacking in what Yamato's doing, even though she did 90 billion that damage, you got no chain boundary and no conditional boosts.
Correct.
Yep. So like
plus,
there's so much more that you can
conditional
do.
Boosts.
There is
you're potentially missing out on 2 conditional boosts as well. Like like there's so much more that team can push the agenda of, which naturally, like, this is just the team that they use to, like, it's the Sugo trial, teams regardless, right? So it's not meant to be perfect, but, like, the fact that that team comfortably hits 100 bill, like, that's kind of nuts when you think about it, right?
Absolutely.
Like, if you add Momo to that team, he provides you with the chain boundary, and you just need the conditionals now.
Yeah,
exactly.
And then you're easily cooking. But all right, going around the bill, Pappy, who are you taking?
Look, like, I'm gonna keep it a buck. Like, I think that, like, I'm Team Yamato, but I think at the end of the day, like, I would prefer to have Zoro and Sanji just because it's a unique. It's a unique buff. I love a unique buff. It provides so much. The fact that every unit in the game now, so long as you meet the requirements, obviously, can become a slasher free spirit unit means it benefits from all the buffs of the anniversary units. Furthermore, running this guy as a captain for beginner to mid-game players means it's going to be a lot easier for users to get the attack and all boost to effect, which means they can do more damage to clear more content. Like, the unit provides such a nice balance of end game, like, damage and, and benefit, but also for the beginner players, changing a unit's classes outright to fulfill the requirements of the captain that you're using further provides more flexibility for users that don't have a lot of units in their box to then be able to use this unit as a captain and clear content with those units. So I think that in the grand scheme of things, I think that Zoro and Sanji's well-roundedness provides a lot more, but the discussion is 100% correct. Like, Tony mentioning the idea of that 200% final tap in the introductions of Momo and Hiyori as well, and the fact that she increases her own attack by depending on what the damage reduction is as well. Like, Yamato's final tap is going to be something that becomes an absolute staple. Like, if I had to max one, it'd be Yamato. If I had to only have one, it'd definitely be Zoro and Sanji.
Yeah, I definitely agree. If you're a new player and you're watching this video, I think, or even you're like, who should I target? I think Zoro Sanji is the one that you go for first. You pick up one copy of Zoro Sanji, because I don't think you need anything more than that. You can go to the Wazoo if you're a whale. I'm not going to hold it against you if you rainbow the unit.
Each their own.
But if you need to go for one first, you have limited gems, get your hands on Zoro Sanji first, and then look at getting either Yamato or Roger and Odin, and that's at your own discretion. I think both of those units are still very, very good. If you're maxing out units, pick one of them to max out. I wouldn't recommend maxing both of them out, because it does seem like you're going to be doing some fun hybrid combination stuff. But, again, I'm not going to hold it against you if you max out both of them. There was a very interesting little tidbit that we got as well. 6+ Law. At the Wazoo. Another slasher. A dex slasher. Not so much in the quick realm. I haven't actually read what he does, but how are we feeling with this very anticipated 6+?
He's very interesting.
He's super type does debuff removal now. Which is really interesting in its own regard. I think that overall, like, it's a 6+. Like, I mean, we're not going to be running home and saying it's the best one.
No,
it's still very good.
Yeah, I think Luffy, 6+ of Luffy's, quick Luffy is better than this one, but they did buff him in slight ways, which did make him a little better, but it's like, it's not really big buffs.
He gets what, the 3 times with super type effects instead of 2.5. He gets a 1.75 additional damage taken, which goes through immunity if he has a Dex or 1 orb. And then, so it's if the friend's captain has a tandem or recovery orb, that's where it kicks in. You know who's really good for that? I think the Corazon level limit break.
Correct.
Right, interesting. So that's pretty nice. Yeah, he seems like an interesting buff, like you said, some utility in the super special. Just going to be very interesting. I don't know if we have the information already, but like, how do we get our hands on this?
Same way as last year for Roger.
Same way for Roger. All in all, whilst that's not exactly immediate, I think these types of buffs for characters we have are definitely very, very good signs.
Correct.
Awesome.
As far as the the skulls, you get them during certain events, right? The PK is 410 turtles.
That's right.
I believe the information that Brandon provided, I believe he said 9 wins for GP.
Yeah, that would make sense.
And then also we're having a blitz.
Awesome.
So that's 3 events.
Is that Newgate a blitz character?
No, PK.
No, it's PK.
He's the PK unit? Alright, fair enough.
Yeah.
Good unit, by the way.
I haven't looked at these characters. I'm just on the database as we've been chatting away, and I'm looking. I'm assuming the Toki and the Kinemon are the rare recruits?
Rare recruits.
Yeah.
Nice.
That Newgate is quite good. Plus, got to factor in, that's our TM 5+.
That's a 5+.
So, like... and there's your chain boundary, and also funnily enough, he actually provides a similar super tandem to that of the TM lead performers. So like it's a one tap super tandem that leads into the rush of the Roger.
Wait, I didn't realize. Hold on, wait. I didn't realize he had a super tandem.
He has a super tandem. It's a 1.5x tandem attack boost after only 2 taps.
Yeah,
so it leads
any one of the following characters.
Any
of his batch. Blackbeard, Odin, Ezo, Dogstorm. There's no Roger in there though.
Odin, hello.
But Odin's there.
Odin.
But still.
Yeah. So but I mean, hey, that's that. It's kind of a similar kind of structure to what Rush Kaido and the team lead performance provided, right?
Sure.
And not saying that that's going to be meta defining or whatever, but last time in that Super Boss, ironically, that team lead performance was like one of the most valuable tandems to have for a majority of players. Because it was like one of the easiest tandems to acquire, on top of the fact that you then had Rush Kaido immediately go into his rush abilities. So you have this nice dynamic of like a similar structure, but now for different colors. So like,
really the only tandem you could use with Rush Kaido.
Yeah, exactly right. Which was really, really good. So like, I mean, I think it's a dub without a shadow of a doubt. The fact that they're even doing that. Yeah, it's a huge. Like, he looks really, really, really good as well. I mean, like, in its own regard.
The problem that I'm talking about here, though, sorry to cut you off, Tony, is that if you tap with him first, then you tap with Odin and Roger, you're not going to get the rush. Like, it'll prioritize. So you need to find a way to bring someone else in.
No. You will get the rush.
Yeah, but then you won't get the...
It worked with Kaido. Yeah, it worked with
Yeah.
Hold on. No.
But we used Big Mom.
Yeah. That's where it gets a bit great. But that's getting into the semantics of it all. But overall, I'm actually pretty impressed. Like, for what a New Year's is meant to bring, I think they did a really good job.
Yeah. So going back to Law, he adds overhealing with his captain.
Gaia.
So.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, good buffs. Good chats, boys.
Rare recruits are solid as well, just to put it out there. Like, rare recruits are very solid. Decent supports on them as well. I mean, Roger and Odin's support, if it wasn't discussed...
massive. Disgusting support.
Absolutely cracked support in its own regard, too. Like, I think it's a good New Year's. It's a good celebration. Obviously, you want to complain about the banners and so on, so be it. However, Part 1's banner is actually a little better because Step 30 on Part 1 is a guaranteed new Super Fest unit.
They brought it back.
So you are guaranteed one of the 3, which is massively positive. Part 1 Pierres, everyone rise up. That's what we're all going to stand for. Don't actually pull on Part 1, please. Don't be like anyone in this call, to say the least.
Unless you've been saving and you have an abundance of gems. But like I said,
have fun though, man. Yeah, have fun. It's New Year's, baby. Like, have fun with the celebration.
Banners go live on the 27th.
I'll put up Part 1.
in
Banners go live on the 27th?
tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow news time.
Tomorrow news
26
time.
PST, 26 PST, 27 JST. So look forward to that. News time tomorrow.
Well, best of luck to everyone summoning. Thank you for chatting, boys. Big love. And best of luck, everyone. Peace.
Peace.